Today's paper gameplay is up against Boa, a decklist that I don't have too much prior experience with, but I eventually learned that it's very similar to Dofi. You go wide, you got some Jinbeis to cheat things out, Gravity Blaze to bottom deck my Kai's, and Pudding to mess up my really greedy keeps. But regardless of what it might be, the matchup actually ends up being going really well in general, and my opponent wants a lot of experience against Nami. So again, as per the requested feedback, the first game is going to be voiced over, and the second game, which is done after rounds, is kind of just raw gameplay. So let me know what you prefer. If you want to see my hand in terms of a perspective as well, or if you prefer this side view, all the feedback is welcome. Again, shout out to Nerdvana Games in Toronto, Ontario, Canada for letting me record during their locals here. Shout out to my opponent for being a great sport here. And in general, enjoy the Blue Nami gameplay. Starting things off here, again, we are on the play. We get to play out our Kai. Our opponent knows they can't give us that extra draw, so why not punish them a little bit here? We unfortunately have to get rid of our Deathwing early, and you know, one of my favorites, I know a lot of people in the comment section down below like to get me to value my Spadas a bit more. I like Spadas as a trigger, but they themselves play a Kaya. Actually, at this one in the video, I do remember making a comment. I'm like, am I the mill deck or are you? Anyway, they're filtering through their hand. Opponent here gets to kind of do a little bit of arranging. They are definitely looking for some puddings. I remember kind of after having that post-game conversation with them, that is the card they're looking for. And honestly, pudding just feels like one of the better cards to punish the deck at this point. So since they play the Kaya, not another threat, I'm not expecting any rush. I play out the Margaret and pass as a blocker. I know Boa is the type of deck right now where, although initially it was kind of played out as kind of like a bounce type of deck, this is more like a 7 warlords type of deck. So they play out 2 cards here. I note that I only have 5 cards in hand. They're like, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway, because when they bounce a card, they draw a card. Because again, they're digging for the pudding. That's kind of their big idea here. And I'm like, okay, that's perfectly fine. I didn't really clue into it at this point in the game. I'm like, why are they aggressively trying to draw cards? I'm thinking like maybe Gion or something. Like where are they really at with that? Anyway, I go to 5 Dawn here. I pay 3. I Margaret again and realize they didn't really do anything to my blocker initially. They didn't want to attack in and just kind of have no value off the blocker, which I thought was kind of weird. I feel like they could be a bit more aggressive, but I also don't blame them, because if they're playing Jinbei, I clued into the fact that, okay, they're playing like a kind of go wide 7 warlords type of build, and they wanted to kind of build a board and then start attacking it. So I'm like, all right, that is one type of strategy. I find the yellow players have a bit of better luck with that. I think against blue especially, you're better off using my resources and then like gravity blading stuff to the bottom, or then putting. So maybe that's just something for their player knowledge. In this case, they're thinking about how to attack here, and how to kind of manage their turn. They are on their 6 Dawn turn, so I have to be aware of 6 cost Boa coming in. So they swing in with just 5. And then what I ultimately decided to do is I'm like, do I go for a blocker? Do I kind of throw out a thing? And I'm like, all right, you know what, might as well use the blocker. I figured, you know, I'm still kind of worried about some level of like bounce effects or anything. I'm not familiar with the Boa matchup, I'm going to be honest, but I'm happy to get some experience out of here, at least against this player playing like kind of a 7 warlords type build. So they're going to pay 6 Dawn here. They make a bit of a weird decision. They actually bottom deck they're choosing, actually they almost wanted to bottom deck their Kaya, but they're like, I don't need to. So what they do is just they make it so one of my characters can't attack. They don't bottom deck my Kaya, which is really weird to me. After the game, I do have that conversation with them, and they thought like there would be more value in just kind of not doing anything and setting up the kind of late draws. And I'm like, okay, because they're like, you know, if they bottom deck the Kaya, there's a lot more ways to bounce searchers and push those Kayas back up top anyway. So I'm like, all right, that makes sense. So I'm just gonna swing in Jinbei for 5 and just gonna push a card out of their hand, untap with 4. And again, I apologize for the screen shake. I you know, it's gonna be a bit before I kind of get some updated gameplay here, but definitely I will be making sure to at least make sure the stand is separated from the table this time around. But anyway, you'll have to deal with the shake. For now, opponent has some thoughts as to how they want to do this. Do they want to attack with that character first, like Big Boa, and potentially trigger out a snake, in this case, a snake dance? They're going to attach 2 Dawn here. And that is a swing, and I'm like, all right, blocker immediately. It's not even a type of card that I really want to bounce. They play out another 6 cost Boa and do not bounce my Nami. At this point, I'm getting really suspicious, because I honestly feel like just bottom decking the Kaya is correct. Let me know in the comment section down below, by the way. I got 3 blockers here. Let me know in the comment section down below if you feel like bottom decking the Kaya is correct here. Like what ultimately is better for them. You'll see the result of the game at the end here, but what do you feel like is ultimately better for this opponent here to make in terms of a decision? we'll see how it ultimately lands out, but I'm able to sit pretty here. Notice off in the corner, that's actually a peel off in my hand. So I'm actually feeling really good about this matchup so far. I haven't seen any gravity blades. I haven't seen any pudding so far. Pudding would really mess me up here. I think like losing that peel off, but it's not something that I was necessarily playing around. They play out their Kaido here on their 10 Dawn turn, and I'm just looking at it here. This kind of just does some bouncing, and I'm like, oh, I'm not used to this Kaido. I'm used to the other one that draws 3 cards, kind of based on the amount of the amount of life that I have. So in this case, they bounce my blocker, which is good. In this case, I get to reuse it again, which is great for me. I tap 2 Dawn here and think about how I want to spend out my resources, and ultimately is a White Snake just to start things off. Because I figured, okay, this is gonna, because they're tapped out, this White Snake immediately like stops their Jinbei and their leader from attacking. Then what I do is I Snake Dance, bounce the Kite in my hand. So I essentially counted out of 3 attacks there. And then they pass the turn. They don't want to attack with their other boa and allow me to use up more of my resources, which again, I think honestly is incorrect. It's not the right thing to do. So I start off with the Gloriosa, and just kind of or sorry, I play the Gloriosa. I believe I say Kaya, and they're like, that's not a Kaya. I'm like, oh yeah, that's my Kaya. So my apologies there. I was definitely thinking like too far ahead there. And I was thinking after I did that, I was like, wait, it actually was better to just play out the Gloriosa, because then I get more information. I could potentially pull out another Perfume Femur out of my deck. Like if I had a stack of 5 cards and Perfume Femur was the only hit, I could potentially pull that out now. Anyway, I play the Kaya, I play out a Margaret, and I actually draw another Kaya there if you're kind of looking at my hand. That's another thing I'm going to add to the future videos. Let me know in the comment section down below if you prefer a perspective view where you are looking at my hand, or if you prefer this side to side view. That's the type of kind of feedback that I'm really looking for here. But another piece here is as we move into these next set of games, we are next set of turns here, they finally Gravity Blade me, and then I lose those 2 cards. So I'm finally starting to see, okay, I pulled the cards back out because I can't choose the order in this case, but I'm really starting to look at, okay, now that those cards are at the bottom, maybe my opponent is finally cluing in. I'm going to start losing some cards that are on my board right now. So they're swinging large. I'm like, all right, you're swinging like 15k at me. I'm gonna eat it. All right. No trigger. Boa hits me, goes to swing as well. This I can counter out of a little bit easier. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it because another boa is potentially coming at me. So I White Snake that because they only swing for 8 here, and then they hit me with another boa here. I can go, swing out with another 9k. Just want to think about how I want to do this. I use 3 total Dawn here. I'm just using it now. First, I'm going to start off with the Spada, kind of rearrange here, and then kind of leave it at the top. I believe I do leave this one at the top, yeah, because I do want to draw then with the White Snake, right? And that uses up 3 Dawn there, draw, and then I do need 1 more card to just counter out here, and that's ultimately how I'm going to decide this off. So I believe it's going to be the Apis that I pitch. I don't believe I pitched the Gloriosa that's in my hand, and that's how it ultimately lands up here. Hopefully I clear out the Spada from my field. Yes, I do. And then they pass the turn from there, remembering that I did use the White Snake because that counters out of the 5k leader swing and the 5k Jinbei swing. I feel like there's a lot of situations here where my opponent's just giving me like too many easy attacks. Like they really didn't need to kind of bottom deck those characters necessarily, and you saw how I just drew a Kaya straight off the peel off. I mean, when you're drawing like a god like this, it's real hard to lose games. Spoiler alert, by the way. So I throw away a Perfume Femur and a Margaret, not cards I necessarily want to be playing right now. Play another Kaya, draw 2, discard the Femur, and I'm looking at like what I really want to get rid of. You see another peel off there in hand, and that actually starts to get real tricky because especially at this point in the game, when they're swinging with such big characters, a lot of my 4k counters are 2 Dawn. I don't have a lot of Gavels. We don't have Mr. 1 anymore, especially in this list. So it's a little bit harder to actually use your Dawn later on. You don't want to be using too much of it on your turn. So casting peel off is actually a lot more difficult, a lot more taxing than people give it credit for. So they Gravity Blade me again. And honestly, at this point of the game, I don't mind. If they're going to start swinging big like this actually is incorrect. So I will definitely say, so I trigger a rubber band here. I draw another peel off. I will wholeheartedly say this is incorrect. They should be attaching other Dawn to their boas. They should be swinging 9Ks or at least attaching some to the 5K swings so that they just don't get got by like a White Snake. But that's fine. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. I guess the opponent maybe doesn't have too much experience against the Nami matchup. So I go Gavel Pitch, Rubber Band here, mill 2 cards, and you can start seeing the deck. It's getting real low here. I'm about to win that game. But at this point, you know, opponents trying to think about how they want to play this out. They're going to pass here, which is really weird. I did not play the white snake. Again, a lot of strange decisions here, but I'll take them where they come. So thankfully, my opponent is giving me the space to actually cast one peel off a turn, which is, again, not great on their end. I still have the other peel off stuck in my hand. I'm trying to make the value judgment of whether or not it's a good call to draw those 2 cards now, because I'm still at 3 life here. I can afford to take a fair amount of swings here. I could probably counter out of 2, take it from there. So I'm going to choose to ultimately go Searcher here, try and dig for something. I believe that hand's a whiff here. I'm just looking at it from the side here. I believe that hand's a whiff. No, I do end up finding something here. Or no, it's actually a full whiff all the way straight to the bottom. So I get a bit of a rearrange. That's fine. I'll take it for what it is. Sometimes it's the way the TCG works. Not, all 46 of your cards can be hits. And I say 46 if you're playing like 4 Gloriosas or something. At that point, I'm going to pass the turn. I'm hoping to counter out of about 3 attacks here, maybe take like 1 hit. Maybe I'll manage to counter out of the leader attack as well. And then at that point, I can play a peel off on my next turn and take the game from there. At this point, like if my opponent continues to play at this play pattern, I'm locking this game up. Let's be honest, I'm locking this game up. So they play another 10 cost Kaido, which, is decent now. Again, they are digging for that pudding. Right, they're digging for that pudding. At this point, I think they've added they've put too much value on that pudding. It's a little too late in this game for something like that. So what they do is they swing out with their 10 costs here. I go to 9 here at first, and then decide how I want to kind of continue that counter out here. And at this point, kind of gavel pitch. And that's feeling good. I get to mill 2 cards right there. They go in with an 8k attack, and this is where they start losing a lot of value. As I mentioned last turn, if you're not swinging in 9k against a situation like this, I'm thinking, do I counter out of this attack? Do I actually eat this type of attack? No, I think I'm going to counter out. No redraw there based on the amount of cards I hand. So I'm going to eat this attack. And I believe this one's a bluff, actually. Again, I talked about in last paper gameplay, you want to keep consistent the amount of time that you're spending bluffing your life. You don't want your opponent to believe you got a character for free, and kind of give them that information. So I kind of untap here. I draw 2. Did I forget to draw a card here? I think I might have missed that on screen. I hope I didn't forget to draw a card here, but again, spoiler alert, it doesn't ultimately end up mattering here. So I draw 2. Then what I do is I Apis. So I'm like, I can really go for something here. So I look at the top 5 here, because I believe I did kind of top a Kaya or a peel off here. Ultimately find a Kaya. I find 2 Kayas actually. So I believe I place that Kaya back on top, and I'm thinking about like what's in my hand and if I can kind of go for the win here. So I put the Kaya into my hand, and I'm thinking about, all right, play the Kaya. How do I filter out? Because if I start drawing dead, what are the cards that I have left? I only have 2 life left. Those are 2 10 cost characters coming at me. Can I win, or do I just eat those? So ultimately, I'm like let's save the Kaya in hand, right? Because this is the turn where I'm going to have to take those 2 hits and then counter out of the rest. That's the game plan. And if I need Kaya to keep alive, I need Kaya to keep alive, because I need those triggers to work for me. And that's where I found myself really making this decision more and more. I found that in OP07, you really need to take all 5 of your hits, all 5 of your life to even get there. In the end, there comes a pivotal turn where your opponent overwhelms you on board and you just have to take the hits. So they bottom deck one of my cards, which is a little unfortunate. That's the Apis going to the bottom. I was hoping, if I am able to bounce that, that's a 2, that's a build your own Deathwing, because I can 9k Snake Dance, Apis to my hand, take the hits here. So no trigger off that hit that I just took off of the 10k there. And they're using up so much of their Dawn. Like I pretty much, once they use that Dawn to bottom the Apis, I knew I won. I essentially knew I won at that point. So they bounce that to their hand, and then I have to choose something to bottom deck. I bottom that card. And again, if you're going to be using your Dawn like this, then I'm perfectly fine. I'm going to take that hit, and I'm perfectly fine to just counter out of all these attacks here. So first, they're going to swing in for 9 here. And they're going to decide how they want to use this, because at this point, I can use my resource and I can really win this game. So no draw off of that redraw there. And then at this point, we're going to play another mellow, no redraw, because I have double Kaya in hand. And then I rubber band mill 1, and I untap. Unfortunately, no triggers, but I found myself some characters. I draw a card there. First thing I'm going to do is Kaya, draw 2. And then at this point, look at that, folks. I managed to find another Kaya. So discard 2 characters there. Kaya, draw another set of cards, discard. I have the other Kaya that I topped here. I have 3 cards there. Then what I do is I have the other 2 Kayas. So that's pretty much the win. GG's there. And really at this point, what I'm going to do is we're going to go to the second game here. And again, I'm going to raw audio this, as I mentioned in the beginning. provide that feedback. If y'all prefer the voiceover kind of talking through my kind of turn-by-turn play here, or if you prefer the raw audio, it seems like the overwhelming feedback is the kind of voiceover, which is perfectly fine, but you got to do a video or two just to make sure we get complete feedback. Let me know about any other aspects of the commentary, the gameplay, whatever y'all want. Let's make sure this is what you're looking for when it comes to Blue Nami Mill gameplay.
Ich würde das like action push. Like more defensive, and I put like a mono.
Yeah, you pick it over here.
Oh no, there's a top 2.
I don't care about top 2. I'm not in.
Are you top 3? Is that why? You hate on the 2s?
Just a little bit.
Cause I hate on the 2s.
Oh yeah, today, right? Perfect. Let's drop it. I'll send it by Mega Ball. Yeah, I'm gonna see. I'm buying Rosanante for like 22 on Monday. Because I'm like 22. That's actually pretty good.
Surprisingly cheap for Yo, that's actually crazy. That really hit.
I'll tell you what, like Domingo.
Actually crazy.
Kid.
Alright, fast one.
Kid attacks.
I think it's underrated.
I get it.
I'll report it.
Came out. A lot of people are. Laughing.
No, 10 lead. 10? Yo, you're going crazy. What are you talking about 10 lead right now? Balance and then spot it. Yeah. I'll keep these on top. Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Top. Go ahead. Let's go higher. These two. Drop this. Pass.
Yeah. It's like.
I didn't even know they did that art of boasting. It's pretty sweet. Yeah, the Dawn art is. The Dawn? Yeah, the Dawn art is pretty sweet. I will just make, I guess, can attack and balance.
Isn't it bottom deck?
Or bottom deck, yeah. I'll bottom deck your Kaya.
Yeah.
Did you have counter in your hand? I had 2 podiums. So I didn't know so I assumed that you had 2K, maybe 3. So if the reason why I didn't have my thing is because I needed to do the and I need a 7 exactly in case I didn't hit 0 cost per head. So I have if that happens, right? So then I need to be able to keep you and think 7 So I had exactly 3 Dawn, meaning that I could commit 1 under it. But if I swing 7, you counter out 8, I'm down. If I swing 7, you counter out 8, I'm dead. If I swing all under 1 and it's like 8 and I only have 1 Dawn, if I swing 6, you'll counter out 2. I thought you were gonna. Yeah, because I knew you were gonna go for game after I blocked to a mobile. Yes. But then. But then I was like, because if you block like that, then you have a counter. Yeah. Right? I'm scared. Remember what I did for you? I was like, I would just randomly block the first attack, right? Just give me a 1 counter. So instead of playing against that mind game, I think it's around 0. But then I usually play against Nami and
Alright, so there?
You might be playing an L. I'm wanting to see characters. Do you guys play Proof?
Yeah.
You guys want to play?
Kyle?
I can see the Sanji.
Pass.
Am I at 9 or 10 dollars? Am I at 9 or 10
You
dollars?
should be at 10.
Yeah.
You 100% should be at 10. Yeah.
Well, no, I just wanted to figure out like how that. Should we ever do that? And actually, I don't have enough. So once I start writing one, I actually have to think a little bit. You gotta swing more later.
What 9?
Yeah, like I think because you make.
White Snake redraw.
And what I.
Snake Dance spawns Kaya.
Yeah. Oh, because like you.
My hand was like nothing that really changed.
But you had a.
I should have counted down. Give it.
Pitch these to up to 11. Mill 3 cards. Yeah. Good there?
No darn.
No darn. Trigger.
I'm not actually that way. I mean, it's
Thank you all so much for coming. We have our final placement here. In first place, we have Yay!
during my turn, you can activate.
Second place, we have Gary. Thank you. Third place, Lauren.
And whenever it attacks like that,
Fourth place, Shasta.
Yeah.
Chuck.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Everyone else gets one tournament pack.
Good there?
Yeah.
I played out a bunch of stuff here. Yeah. You're cool. Yeah, like I think you just played that and you're passing? Oh, yeah. Kaya.
I opened 4 packs.
Gloriosa.
Thank you so much for playing with us. Thank you for sharing with us for the first time. Welcome to Stay Put Longer.
Pass turn. 6. Putting me for value. Keep going. Oh, God. Did you take your promo? No, not yet. Oh, yeah, right here.
Are you sure?
Yeah, right here.
That's going for
Yeah, it's top 4 on.
Yeah. Jimbe. Big Jim. I got 6 cards.
I'll just leave it there for now.
A lot of Donna. Make me bottom.
I like that.
Go 17.
Yo. Is Jimbe worth it?
I like that.
Didn't they?
They play with
I think for like a blue decks, yeah. Didn't know like $5 or something.
I love that.
Let's do that. And let's do that. So that's 13K. How much did you say?
17.
17. Okay, so I'll mill 2, and then mill 2 again. And I'll go redraw 17, and then Redraw. 17. Yeah.
Anything?
Now pass. Okay. I'll draw. Feel like.
Anyone holding card?
I got good stuff.
Gloriosa. Yeah. I whiff, but I got 2 cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys are all over this round.